Yo, what's good everybody? It's me, Weep here, back with part 9 for What If Naruto Was in ReZero. If you guys are new to the channel or just haven't seen these videos before, since it has been a while since the last part, then make sure to go up here to the top right hand corner and there'll be a playlist there waiting for you which has all the previous parts of the series so you can come catch up and then get back to this video. Anyway, if you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this from me. Anyway, let's just get into the finale part up to the anime, well, at the ending of Season 2's anime, for What If Naruto Was in ReZero. Alright everyone, so it has been a while before the previous part to this, so as always I'll be doing a recap for parts like this, but if you do want you can go back and just watch the previous part, which should help enlighten things. But basically what happened is Naruto made it back to the mansion, saved Beatrice, as an idiot said that he was the one for Beatrice, which he didn't even understand because he has no understanding of the concept of love, according to the events from Naruto the Last, which I'm using as that plot point. And anyway, Beatrice with Naruto and the rest of everyone who was at the mansion, this being the Frederica, as well as the one Lolly, and Rem's unconscious body, along with Naruto and Beatrice, of course, themselves. They would have been teleported over into the Naruto world, where Naruto would have taken care of the 6 paths of pain, using Roswaal and Beatrice's magic to maintain him crossing over the realm, since without the magic battery allowing him to cross the world line, what would have happened is his curse, that being returned by death, wouldn't have allowed him to go. He would have just been sucked back into ReZero, and then everyone would die in the Leaf Village. So, with the assistance of Naruto's friends from ReZero, he saved the Leaf Village using his Spirit Sage mode, as well as displaying his first ever use of magic. Naruto learned of Jiraiya's death, as well as everything that had taken place after he had been taken and summoned away from his world. Now Naruto had just finished defeating the 6 paths of pain, and is about to get teleported back to the sanctuary, where Beatrice and everyone else will be waiting. So as of now, there are currently 2 problems left that Subaru has to deal with, that being the trial, like Garfield and all that, along with Roswaal and what his objective is. And Roswaal isn't going to be having helped Naruto for free, obviously, because that's how Roswaal is. And I will note there was some stuff in the last part that was pretty unclear, especially because when I was making that part, ReZero Season 2 was still ongoing, but the entire anime for Season 2 has ended, meaning we have all the plot threads, or well, most of the plot threads I should say, completely wrapped up, meaning that we can actually finish the story. So anyway, let's just get into it, the final part for What If Naruto Was in ReZero for ReZero Season 2. Naruto would blink once, then twice, then 3 times, as he opens his eyes and realizes that he's back, as he looks around seeing that he's in the sanctuary. His friends would be all around him, as both Beatrice, Amelia, Roswaal, and even Ron would have all been pulled into a giant group hug. A major difference between Amelia and Subaru and Amelia and Naruto's relationship in this timeline is that Subaru never really told his friends in the Amelia camp that he had come from a different world, because he couldn't due to the effects of how Return by Death worked. But with Naruto, on the other hand, Naruto had actual proof that he was from a different world, due to him being able to use chakra, which is something no one else on the planet of ReZero is able to do. So because of this, all of Amelia and the Amelia camp knew that Naruto came from where he said he did, from a different world. Due to this means that Naruto had a lot of the mental stress that Subaru would have had originally removed from him, because even though Naruto's died a few times now, multiple times, due to him being a shinobi, as well as having more power and being able to actually figure out ways to solve solutions by himself, not needing to rely on others as much, leads to Naruto's confidence being much higher than Subaru's would have been in the original. Anyway, after everything had wound down, both Roswell and Beatrice, as well as pretty much everyone, would have been rather curious about Naruto's world, and they would decide that they need to ask him more questions about it later. Anyway, Beatrice being with Naruto means that he could easily take out the Great Rabbit, and with Roswell there, all three of them could probably take them down with no problem. Naruto began to say this as Roswell held his hand up, saying he never agreed to that. He only agreed to lend Naruto his magic power to aid Beatrice in the portal, temporarily. What do you mean? Naruto would ask. Roswell would then laugh, saying that his objective hasn't even been completed yet, so why would I help you with yours? Naruto would be taken aback, realizing how Roswell truly was, as Amelia and the rest of the camp, with Ram especially, realizing the true scenario they were in. Amelia would still have the task of freeing the sanctuary, seeing as they were still locked in, as Roswell had threatened them. Even if he did summon the Great Rabbit, and Naruto and Beatrice did defeat it, he'd make sure that they would still have him to worry about. With the looming threat of Roswell, Garfield, as well as the other mysteries that the sanctuary holds still held over Naruto's head, Naruto would begin to see a path forward. As he decides with Beatrice, the two of them together can stomp through anything. Naruto truly believes in Amelia by this point, as he would then put his hand on her shoulder, telling her, "Hey, don't worry about it. You can smash that stupid trial right in the face," Naruto would say, as he would give her a thumbs up. Naruto would smile as he closes his eyes, with his whiskers now raising on his cheeks. Beatrice would actually get a little jealous from this. She would kick Naruto in the knee. Naruto would then ask her what that was for, as Beatrice would look away, making a sound. Anyway, Amelia would giggle at this, as she then thanks Naruto. She would then say to Naruto that after her magic power recovers, she'd be sure to take on the challenge again tonight, as she raises her fist, looking up to the sky. "I have to face this trial with everything I've got," Amelia would think. Amelia, as well as everyone else, would have heard Naruto's Nindo thousands of times by now, seemingly, so the idea of never giving up has pretty much become synchronized with all of them. And besides, Naruto would be standing beside her the entire time she needed a hand. Later that night, Amelia would attempt the trial, and she wouldn't return for several hours. Naruto would start to get worried, as he decides that he's going to go in after her, as Naruto himself would then enter into the graveyard. Naruto began to feel sick from the effects of the graveyard, but he'd find Amelia lying unconscious, as Amelia would start to break down as she was waking up, now curled up against the wall, having dealt with the memories that she was seeing from the trial of the graveyard. Naruto would shake Amelia a little bit to wake her up, as he asks if she's alright, as Naruto feels like he's about to puke his guts out, grabbing at his stomach. Amelia would open her eyes as she sees Naruto sweating and standing in the graveyard. "What? How are you? Oh my god, Naruto, you can't be here." Naruto would say he knows, but he'd grab Amelia's hand. He says, "Let's get out of here," as Naruto would grab Amelia and pull her out of the graveyard. Amelia would have failed the trial again, but with Naruto having shown up, she would have felt at least a little better about it. Amelia would feel really bad, just like she did in the original, about not being able to save the sanctuary, because Amelia just wanted to save everyone. She wanted to save her friends and also the people who lived in the sanctuary itself. Garfield would scoff as he sees Naruto escorting Amelia out, seeing Naruto look like he just ran a marathon, as Naruto would then fall over onto the ground and start vomiting from the effects of the graveyard. Amelia would be really worried about him, but Naruto would tell her he's fine, as he'd pull himself back to his feet. Naruto would tell Amelia to keep trying at it, saying that if she doesn't give up, there's no way she can't win eventually. Amelia would be not so sure about this after all the horrible things she had remembered seeing in that memory, in that dream, but she would decide to trust Naruto. Anyway, she'd go rest as she goes back to her room in the cottage, where she would lay down and begin to try and fall asleep. As Naruto would be in there as well, Amelia would ask Naruto to stay by her side and hold her hand. Naruto, just like Subaru, would have had things he needed to do, but he would decide that he can do this, as Naruto would then take a seat at Amelia's side, waiting until she fell asleep. Puck, are you there?" Naruto would ask. Puck would emerge from the crystal where he usually would be with Amelia, as Puck had been silent to Amelia for the past few days ever since entering the sanctuary. "Yeah, Naruto, what is it?" "Ugh," Puck would yawn. "Why'd you wake me up? What do you need?" Puck would say as he rubs his eyes. Naruto would smile as he then tells Puck his plan, saying to Puck how Roswaal was planning on taking action against them in the sanctuary. Naruto would have explained to Puck that he had actually formed a contract with Beatrice, as Beatrice would actually walk into the room after having heard her name outside. Puck would then be adored by Betty, and as the three would be sitting there for a while. Anyway, Naruto, before he loses track of his thoughts, would then get back to Puck and says, "Oh, yeah, what I need you to do is, in case Roswaal actually does attack us or the sanctuary, while me and Beatrice are taking care of the Great Rabbit, I need you to, I know it's a lot to ask, can you fight him for me? At least until me and Beatrice can finish up the job?" "We'll head over there right after," Naruto would say, as he and Beatrice would look at Puck. Puck would then decide for a moment, saying that he guesses he could help out, since Naruto asked him so earnestly and all. Naruto would thank Puck so much, saying he couldn't think of anyone else who would be able to hold him off. And so one unique thing about this timeline that I like, that is pretty wholesome, is that Naruto actually does get to stay with Emilia the entire night, holding her hand, but Beatrice would demand his other hand. Before Naruto commits to the hand-holding acts, very lewd, I know, Naruto would then create a few shadow clones, as Naruto's shadow clones would go and do the tasks that Subaru would not have been able to, in the original timeline that is. Naruto sent 2 of his 3 shadow clones over to the sanctuary to go and write notes inside of it for Emilia to cheer her up, so that when she woke up and went to do the challenge again, she would see Naruto had been there. This also is a callback to when Naruto was a child and used to graffiti on the stone walls of the faces of the Hokage. So Naruto, needless to say, would have an incredible time having some nostalgic memories of ruining the Hokage's faces as he would deface another stone relic. Naruto would send his 3rd shadow clone to go speak with Ryuzu and Garfield, seeing as they would be the only other members in the sanctuary that Naruto could think of that either have some kind of problem that he would have to resolve, or would be willing to even help him maybe. Subaru's shadow clone would meet with, well, now Garfield, along with Ryuzu out in the woods, as seemingly Naruto would then explain to Garfield his plan, saying how he also has qualifications in order to break the barrier, as well as explaining Emilia's position, and as Naruto's finishing up what he wanted to say, asking Garfield and Ryuzu if they have any other information they could add that could maybe help them escape, Garfield would tackle Naruto's shadow clone and begin choking him out, and to that point, Naruto's clone would poof and disappear. This would be when Naruto would gain that information back, and he would realize that Garfield and this Ryuzu have something up their sleeve. He'd let go of Emilia's hand immediately as he tells Beatrice what's going on. "Beako, I'm probably going to have to leave you here for a little bit." Huh? Why? "If you could guard Emilia, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll make it up to you later. I'll get you ice cream." "I'm not a little kid, you know," Beatrice would say, as she then realizes that Naruto's serious. Naruto would then exit the room as he walks outside to find Garfield pouncing, running at him. Naruto's glad that he left the building, otherwise Emilia might have gotten injured while she was sleeping. As Garfield begins to transform into his beast transformation, trying to abduct Naruto before anyone else would wake up, Naruto would simply open his eyes as he reveals to be in Spirit Sage mode. Naruto, with a massive Rasengan in his hand, would shove it directly into Garfield's gut, as Naruto would see Garfield in his animalistic form get sent flying backwards into the forest, crashing into a few trees. Naruto, not wanting to wake Emilia so she can rest, would then run after him at intense speeds, as Ryuzu and her clones would show up trying to subdue Naruto with Garfield. The 2 of them would not be able to take Naruto down, since Naruto at this point in the story is way too strong for them to handle. Naruto is probably, if I had to estimate, a bit stronger than Julius, nowhere near as strong as Reinhardt, but pretty comparable to Emilia and Julius in terms of combat and ability, with Naruto obviously having more technique and versatility due to having chakra, which is something no one else has, even something that Reinhardt doesn't possess. Anyway, Naruto would dodge another punch from Garfield, who would scream and roar as his teeth begin to gnash together in the woods, as he begins to throw punches and hits faster and faster, his huge body rippling with muscles, as Naruto would be dodging and weaving around him. Naruto would create a few shadow clones as they would go after Ryuzu and her clones, with now roughly 50 against 50. It's kind of funny, like a miniature war between this blonde Pikachu kid and then these elf girls, so that was happening, with clones from both sides exploding and poofing everywhere. Garfield and Naruto's fight would eventually wake up a lot of the villagers, as Garfiel would try and take the fight further away so as not to antagonize himself with the rest of the demi-humans living there. Naruto, on the other hand, wouldn't be letting this go, as Garfiel would try to escape, but Naruto would simply create several shadow clones, grabbing him by the leg and pulling him back. Garfiel would roar as he snaps and then begins clawing, piercing through Naruto's shadow clones and destroying them. Naruto would slash his hand, flicking his wrist, as he summons a wind spirit, combining that with his wind magic, opening his gate. Naruto is naturally better at magic than Subaru was, just because Naruto is already used to controlling a different energy in his body, that being chakra, and Subaru had never had anything like that. So Naruto would be able to use both magic and chakra in this fight pretty efficiently. Naruto would be using wind spells combined with chakra attacks against Garfield, and eventually Garfield would wear himself out, as he then transforms back to his main form, before passing out as his eyes rolled into the back of his head. Ryuzu would give up as she tries to escape, but Naruto's clones would overwhelm her. Naruto would just be too strong for the two of them, as Naruto would then tie them up, deciding that he'll need to interrogate them on why they attacked him later. Anyway, with those two out of the way for now, the plan will be getting started fairly soon. Some big differences that are happening in this timeline, which I'll address, are that Garfield is way more angsty as well as nervous about everything going on, particularly because his sister Frederica had arrived in the sanctuary when Beatrice Naruto had teleported everyone from the mansion to escape Elsa and Miley. With Naruto having saved mostly everyone from there, and the two now having been left alone, the mansion was presumed to be destroyed, but Naruto didn't really care that much. But of course it wouldn't be, just because, well, Miley and Elsa were hired by Watt Roswell, so there was no need to destroy anything once they had escaped. One other problem that comes from this is that Garfield doesn't have that arc that he had in the original, where in ReZero, Otto, Subaru, and Rom had subdued Garfield, and he actually faced his past and had become more mature from it. In this version, Garfield hasn't had that character development, and so he's still just the same brat running away from everything. Naruto's too strong though, so there was no need for the teamwork that Subaru would have had to use in the original, meaning that Garfield's character is going to suffer a lot more in this version. Similar to what you guys would know would happen in the Pride route of the What If Subaru Pride from the original author's What Ifs, which are all really good by the way, so if you are a fan of ReZero and have not heard of them or watched them, you can either read them yourself, or there's this really cool ReZero YouTuber called Echidna. He does readings of some of them. He has a lot of the good ones on there like Sloth and Pride, so I definitely recommend watching those. Anyhow, Naruto, as he was just about to put Ryuzu and Garfield in the custody of the other demi-humans, would suddenly pass out, as the shadow clones would actually extend to Naruto himself, who hadn't realized this. The effects of the Witch of Greed, more specifically the graveyard, would extend to Naruto's main body, as his shadow clones would suddenly poof, with the effects now transferring back to him, as he immediately passes out and is summoned to the world of witches, the mental space occupying where Echidna usually would be. However, something different would happen this time, as Naruto, for the first time, would actually see a different one of the witches. He would meet Typhon and Skemet, along with Echidna, who had all been there together. Naruto would be surprised as he's now finally meeting one of the other 7 Deadly Sins witches, that being the Witch of Sloth and the Witch of Pride, with Typhon immediately causing Naruto's limbs to fall to the ground. Naruto would fall apart, spiritually breaking into different pieces. Echidna would laugh and making a comment about Naruto and his current situation, with Naruto also laughing, saying, "Hardy har har, alright, put me back together, okay?" Typhon and the other witch there, Skemet, would be surprised by how casual Naruto would be with them, with Naruto explaining that he's spoken to demons much worse before, as he would look down in his own gut thinking about the Nine Tails. Anyway, why am I here, Naruto would ask. Echidna would then be a bit surprised, saying, "You entered the sanctuary, right? So it must have been because you wanted to talk to me," Echidna would say, blinking her eyes fast. "Why would I want to talk to you again?" The other two would laugh, as Echidna tells him to wait as he tries walking away. "You already came here, so you have to pay the price." "A price? What do you want?" Echidna would then say the same thing she would have told Subaru in the original, touching the handkerchief that was around Naruto's sleeve that Petra would have given to him, just like what she had done for Subaru. Naruto wouldn't get this much, but Echidna would smile, saying that if Naruto had stayed around a little longer, they would have had an interesting conversation. Naruto would be confused by this, but as he would leave, Echidna would then say that was a very interesting battle, by the way, against those guys in your world, since Echidna could read Naruto's memories from his loops from Return by Death at least. Naruto would thank her, saying, "Thank you very much," as he then walks away, with him saying it was nice to meet the other two ladies. All three of them would have a wicked grin on their face, but Naruto wouldn't understand why. As Naruto would wake up back in the real world, he would have felt like only a few minutes had passed inside of the witch's meeting place. But that was not the case. As Naruto would wake up, he'd realize that it was almost silent. He would have woken up at the steps of the graveyard, where the test for the trials would be. Naruto would immediately realize how quiet it was, as suddenly he would see something slipping over the ground. "Move if you don't want to die," Garfiel would say. We would see Garfiel holding Ryuzu, as Garfiel would then grab Naruto as they jump up on top of the graveyard. Suddenly a hand of black and material would then begin to form, as it grabs, chasing after Naruto. "I love you." What was that? Garfiel would then grit his teeth. He says, "It's the witch." Naruto would suddenly realize that his connection with Beatrice had been severed. Is Bayako? He would see images of Amelia and Beatrice in his mind, having been snapped and ripped to pieces. Naruto would hear it again, the faint whisper of someone saying, "I love you," over and over and over again. Suddenly she would appear, ripping out of the sea of darkness, as we see someone with long silver hair and a half-elf wearing a dark cloak. It was Satella, the Witch of Envy. "What? Why?" Naruto would think. Garfield would say, "Don't even try to talk to it, that thing. It's a monster. We gotta run." The Nine Tails inside of Naruto would actually be quivering, as even it can feel the power of this person, this true monster. For a reference, Satella was powerful enough to destroy half of ReZero's Earth with just a rampage. So she's definitely comparable to 10 Tails, or at least 9 Tails. Anyway, Naruto would know that when it's time to run, it's time to run. As he would access basic Sage Mode, he and Garfiel, along with Ryuzu, who was unconscious, would run, but it wouldn't last for long. "She's too fast! Damn it!" Garfiel would try and throw Ryuzu as he tries to save the granny. Garfiel and Naruto would then be enveloped in darkness, as Garfiel would be assimilated into the dark ocean along with Naruto. Naruto would suddenly begin to hear whispers, "I love you," over and over and over again. As Naruto would suddenly begin to realize what's happening to him, fragments of memories would begin to shatter through his mind. "No, it wasn't supposed to go like this," Naruto would be thinking. Naruto would be shocked as he sees things in his mind that he never thought, never could have imagined. These are the thoughts of Satella, the Witch of Envy. With one final "I love you," Naruto couldn't take anymore, as he felt himself dying, being pulled into the darkness, completely merging with the Witch of Envy. Naruto would realize there's only one way out of this, as he would then realize why Echidna had done what she did and the other witches were smiling. They knew this would happen. Naruto would look down as he sees it, the cloth that Petra had wrapped around him glowing with light in the sea of shadow. "Damn you, Echidna," Naruto would be thinking. As Naruto would then pull out the cloth, it sharpening into the wings of a butterfly. Satella would be watching in horror, as Naruto would then stab himself with the blade, killing himself and saving him from the darkness. A screech could be heard from Satella as she sees Naruto's blood pooling out. She would then rush down as she tries to wrap her arms around him, as Return by Death would activate. Naruto then get pulled back before Satella had emerged and had attacked the sanctuary. Naruto would be breathing heavy as he wakes up, realizing that he's back to the first day. Damn it! Naruto would have been reset all the way back to the very first day of getting to the sanctuary, before he had even saved the mansion, made his contract with Beatrice, or had fought the 6 Paths of Pain. Something different here, though, is that instead of the 6 Paths of Pain attacking again, and actually Naruto's original timeline being reset, when Naruto goes back in time in ReZero and has the time loop reset, time continues to move forward in his own original world. Which is why Naruto, even though he had had a few death loops already in ReZero, was still lining up around the same amount of time in ReZero that he would have had in Naruto, which leads to the Pain arc. Naruto doesn't know this though, so he thinks that everyone in Konoha's in danger again, and he has to go through this all over again. Naruto would grit his teeth thinking, "Fine, I'll beat fate, just like I did before. Because that's my ninja way. I'll never give up." Naruto would pull himself up to his feet, as he would then tell Roswell his idea of bringing the Arlem villagers back home, back to their village, so as to give Amelia some peace of mind for the trials. Roswell would then smile, as he thinks this is a wonderful idea. Roswell would already know about everything from the Book of Wisdom. Naruto wouldn't understand this quite yet, but Roswell would have known that Naruto was on a death loop. Naruto wouldn't pick up on this, not being exactly the cleverest person. But anyhow, Naruto would then take Ram with him, just as Roswell would have instructed, as Ram and Naruto would head back to the village with the rest of the villagers. Naruto would make sure to tell Emilia that he was leaving, because of the last loop where Emilia had been immensely worried if he hadn't left that note. But instead of leaving a note, Naruto would just leave a shadow clone behind. That way he could explain to her himself. As Emilia would wake up, Naruto's shadow clone would be waiting, as he would then tell Emilia what's going on and that he was going with Ram to bring the villagers back to Arlem. Emilia would be relieved knowing that the hostages that were being held pretty much inside the sanctuary of their people were now being taken home, and Naruto would then wave poofing saying that he'll be back in a few days. This leads similarly to the events that happened to Subaru after he had also been killed by Satella in the original, with him now having been reset, but new knowledge having been given by Echidna, and in this version having actually met the witches. Well, Naruto having met the witches. At least some of them. This will also be the loop where Echidna will offer her deal to Naruto, similarly to what she had offered Subaru. Anyhow, this would be Naruto's third loop, as he heads back to the mansion to try and save everyone, both at the mansion and the sanctuary. Anyway, I'll be breaking up this final part into two sections, just like what I did with What If Naruto Was the Avatar. This series will be coming to a close, at least for now, unless Season 3 of ReZero is announced. But yeah, the next part will be coming out either tomorrow or the day after. That'll be another almost 30-minute part, which will cover the second half and the ending of ReZero Season 2, along with all of Emilia's memories and what Naruto chooses to do, along with the final tea party where Naruto actually will be talking with Satella herself. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I'll be seeing you guys in the next part, coming out either tomorrow or the day after. But yeah, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.